it is meaningful to be visiting with you in this room because we met about 5 years ago in here with you and your wife when we were talking about you're giving the graduation
Yes.
commencement speech. And the first topic I wanted to ask you about is you're attending a boys' school and how that made a difference in your life when you went off to school as a boarding student.
Yes. Growing up in Philadelphia, on the outskirts of Philadelphia, I went to a high school in Abington, about 10 minutes outside of the city limits. And to say the least, I wasn't a model student at all. I really didn't care less about playing. I mean, going to school and getting good grades. It was more about playing football and trying to be the class clown. That was my goal. And I didn't have a plan for my future. I knew what I wanted to do, but I wasn't on the track for success. My mother realized my potential, and she made a hard decision when I was the age of 15 to send me to a military academy in Virginia, Fort Union Military Academy. Looked at the structure, the discipline, because my father wasn't in my life at that particular time, and I was growing into my own, and I was becoming my own man. And she had to make a hard, quick decision of sending me to that school. But I learned quickly a few things. One, that I needed that discipline. I needed to be humbled. And that was the perfect place for me to realize my dreams there. Everything that I dreamt about becoming and wanted to be was right there. All I had to do was tap into it and make it work for me.
Yeah.
And it worked out for the best.
Well, part of what I'm going to do in this short conversation today is talk about the various journeys you've had. And so Fork Union launched your next journey at Ohio State.
Yes.
And I loved hearing you talk about how that first year or two was a little bit probably similar to the way you felt when you arrived at Fork Union.
Oh,
You know,
yeah.
not exactly what you had hoped for. It wasn't easy at first, and
No.
then things turned around. So would you mind telling us a little bit
Yes.
about that journey?
I grew into my body, got bigger, stronger, faster, and I got recruited by various schools, and wound up making my decision to go to Ohio State. And my goal was to start my freshman year. I didn't care who was in front of me. I didn't care who was there. I didn't care what other great recruits were coming around the country. They had to see me. That was my mindset. And I was lucky enough to get the attention of the coaches and be a goal line running back my freshman year. Had some success earlier on. Scored 3 touchdowns against Syracuse on a national televised game, and you could see that I was starting to grow. Only 2 weeks later to have my worst game of my life. I had 2 fumbles at the goal line that cost us the game. One that went back for a 97-yard touchdown, which is still a Big Ten record to this day. Yeah. Well, all my other records are gone, but that record still exists. It was very difficult, and that year and a half when I was sitting on the bench, I pouted, and I was really selfish, and I wanted to transfer. I wanted to run away from the issue, and so go somewhere where I could play and start. But something in my spirit said, no, see it through here. You're here for a reason. You don't run away from adversity. You run toward it and you grow from it. And once I shifted that thought in my mind, in terms of my thinking, I began to work harder. I started working out twice as hard, showing up twice a day for our workouts, studying film, being a better student, really becoming prioritized about my time and my effort, my attitude, really focused on the things that I could control. And I said, I'm going to bide my time, and when it's my time, I'm going to take advantage of that. So really the Heisman was won in those 2 years that I wasn't starting.
Yeah.
That's where it was, because of the work ethic, the paying attention to detail, the willingness and the gumption to
I love hearing you say that those 2 years when things were tough are probably the times when you earned the Heisman Trophy.
That's right. Now, mental health is a very serious thing, especially in professional sports, because not everybody has a storybook ending, and guys deal with it differently. I know various friends that I played with in college and professionally who struggle with that, because you think that's who you are. That's a job that you did, but that doesn't define you. And usually when that persona dies, over time, if you're attached to that persona, you die with it in the physical, whether that's through drug abuse or destructive behaviors, whatever that may be. It can really ruin you from the inside out. So I sought out counseling, and I still go to counseling to this day, and that was over 16 years ago. It's a wonderful tool to use to help you find, first of all, who you are, the value of who you are, and it says, hey, you know what? If I have to start all over doing something, I'm going to do that. I'm going to humble myself to learn, to be a true student of life. And if I have to start all over at the bottom rung, I'm going to do just that. And I've started over time and time again. I got my master's in business, went to Kellogg School of Management in Northwestern, started my own business, started my own wealth management company. I had to start somewhere as an actor, an entertainer, and now this new venture in my life is a head coach. I never thought in my wildest dreams of becoming a head coach. I can now impart the wisdom and knowledge of my life with my parents, through my parents, onto these young men and my experiences. And it's been more of a blessing for me because it's been very supportive. So it let me know that I'm in the right vein and in alignment with my God-given purpose.
We've seen the journey that we've seen so far with your son Eric here, and the conversation we were just having before we walked in here about his kind of realizing that life is about working hard, about getting to places through a struggle. It doesn't just come to you and you become a better man because you're thinking about ways in which you can grow and ways in which you can be a better man and more vulnerable and more open and more connected to other people and not just thinking about yourself.
Right.
And in a very specific way, that's what this conversation was meant to be. It was a thank you to people who have been selfless and caring and generous toward the school over many years. And we hope as a school that we're going to be smart about developing young men over many years. And so I thank everyone for what they've done for MBA, and I have really enjoyed this relationship, Eddie George, and I thank you for sharing today a little bit of your own background, and I know it will mean a lot to our audience.
Hey Brad, I've always been a big fan of you. Always been a big fan of Montgomery Bell Academy. My son's been coming here since I did that commencement speech, and he says, Dad, if I go on to any place else, I wouldn't be the man that I am today or becoming the man that I am today. So that showed me that he has been growing up, especially in this environment. So you guys are definitely doing the right things, and anytime people can give to this fine institution, know that it's not giving to brick and mortar. They're giving to a life that can be changed for the better. And that's the most important part of it, because my life changed by going to Fork Union, and look what I'm doing now. And we're really, truly, you're truly molding souls and aligning them with their true life purpose.
That's a beautiful way to close this, and just want to say thanks again.
Thank you.